Hi there. This is another webinar from Happy Startup School. So this is a bit of a change up from what we normally do. This is essentially a part of, we've done this in the past, kind of happy startup stories, talking to founders about their journey, what they think about the whole entrepreneurial experience, and for us, kind of where does happiness link into that. And today I'm here with David Lowe. He is the founder of Uberpong, which we're going to find out more about later, and now Qwerky Coliving, which is a startup that he's launching in the next few months. So I'm going to hand over first to David and say, introduce yourself and kind of say where you are at the moment and how you're feeling.
Thanks, Carlos. I love that intro. I love the energy on a Friday, getting everybody pumped up, getting me pumped up. Quick intro. About to launch my second startup, which, as you said, is called Qwerky, which is a co-living community for like-minded people. I was very fortunate to be able to come across the US in 2012, and pretty quickly I launched my first startup, which was called Uberpong, and it was a custom ping pong paddle company.
You've not always been an entrepreneur, though. And it would be interesting to just give a bit of a background as to what happened before and kind of what was the trigger for you to start your own thing.
Well, I would say I first experienced small business, if you like, and the entrepreneurial world through my dad, who ran his business successfully for about 30 years and then ended up selling that. That wasn't a business that I saw myself succeeding in and being passionate for. So I think that was the first time that I thought you've got to be passionate about what you're doing. I then went into the corporate world and moved down from the north of England to London. I was there for about 10 years and did a lot of different jobs, got experience in different fields, because my thought was that if I knew a lot, or if I knew a little in different industries, and a little about a lot, I guess, I'd be set up to be an entrepreneur, because I would know if I was the thought was I would know if I was getting screwed or getting ripped off, because I just knew enough about each little area. That was the thought.
So a quick question there. So It sounded like you've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. So I'd like to just quickly dive into that a bit.
I was in jobs, and when I was in there, I would learn the job pretty quickly and then get bored. And so to combat the boredom, because I was kind of trying to either get promoted or move up quickly, because to get out of that, the lull. And when I wasn't being promoted, or the ideas weren't kind of getting taken on board by the boss, I would force myself, or I would find myself thinking in an entrepreneurial way. So thinking like, how can I just do this without permission, or what would make that process kind of faster or better, or how could we save money and make more? So my brain was kind of thinking like that, but I just wasn't able to express myself in a company. So I guess to the people listening and beyond, your community, if you're in a job, and you feel you've got these kind of, there's almost like urges or entrepreneurial, or just ideas that are coming to you that are outside of the scope of that role, I think that you're already an entrepreneur. That's what I believe, and that you just need to find a way to express those ideas. And if it's not in that job, maybe try something on the side, or just try and launch a business. But it's a case of honing those ideas in, and not just haphazardly going for it. It's like trying to create a system and maybe a team around you or something. Just a structure so that you can express yourself and succeed, rather than try and express yourself and it doesn't quite work out.
Cool. So there was it sounded like, from what I heard of you, there's a kind of ants in your pants thing about just being in a job doing the same thing. How can I make things better? How can I improve things? How can I make this a bit more dynamic? And that in yourself.
I compare it a little bit to when you've got, and digital nomads will be able to relate, but when you get itchy feet,
Mm-hmm.
you're somewhere and you're doing something and you've got itchy feet and you're like, I need to, and that feeling, or that your gut is telling you to move, to travel, to try something
Do
else and
something.
move on, like or try something new. So it's that kind of, that is almost the same kind of feeling as an entrepreneur. You've got that itch, and
Cool.
then if it's a really big itch, it's probably a business idea that you should run with.
Try and do something about.
Yeah.
So and then you said, there's that year journey of trying to do the picture book thing. What is it actually? If you were there now, how would you have stopped yourself from going too far down that journey and just said, all right, 2 months, sod this, let's go do something else?
Well, that's a really good question, and the answer to that is you that time was not wasted. I don't see it like that, because as long as I'm in the entrepreneurial world, I'm learning every day. Like, even I would say, like, people have said that to me, could you, like, if you could go back and cut it after 2, would you? I'd say no, I'd do it again, because all that time, all along, I'm learning about sort of the right people to talk to, the right people to trust, who's stringing me along, who's just using me to make them look good, and so on. And then co-founders, like learning about where to find co-founders, what to look for, and then the complementary skill sets, trying to get a good balance, not just, as I was doing, I was going for people, I was looking for people like me, and guess what? I was finding people like me, realizing that our skill sets were so it was like this. It's just 2 CEOs, just yeah. So that too much of a clash. So I needed that time to work that out, so that when I got to the US in 2012, I thought, right, having used that time, experimented, how can I use my time more effectively?
Cool.
Get further faster.
So it sounds like you had that time of learning. You got to the US and Uberpong came about. So it'd be interesting to hear, what is it that you did differently with Uberpong that you didn't do before, that you thought actually made this actually happen?
Well, with Umento, it was called Umento, the photo book company. I would say that just I was thinking too much. I was thinking too much and not doing. So with Uberpong, it was very much, I have to get something going and just pivot, like launch, pivot, bootstrap, lean startup, just launch something for as little money as possible. Try and get a little bit of seed capital, which I did through a successful Kickstarter campaign, and I raised $10,000 in 30 days, which, in retrospect is actually not a ton of cash, but at the time it was like $10,000 like in 30 days. I mean, that's awesome. Like, that's a lot of money. I can do a lot with that. I can launch a business with that. And that was really cool. It was just a really cool feeling. And then it was validation. It was like people around, not just in the US, or not just in Austin, Texas, but around the world, people in the UK, people in Australia, were ordering Uberpong paddles before we launched. There was no brand. There was nothing. There's nothing other than me doing a video, just a teaser video saying, here's what we've got coming. And actually, it's kind of embarrassing to reflect on, but I'll always talk about it, because I like transparency in entrepreneurs who say they're real about it, not sugarcoating it. But we didn't even have the product. We didn't even have the end product ready to go. We literally had decals that was stuck on just ping pong paddles, but we knew we were going to get them, but we just didn't have them for the shoot, and the deadline was hit, and my guys hadn't delivered, so we had to improvise, just pure improvisation. And so I thought, well, how are we going to get around this? And the idea we came up with the cinematographer was, we've just got to shoot quick, and just quick cuts, so that it's not a 10-second slow zoom in on the product, and then people would be like, oh, well, I'm not going to buy that, because it's clearly not ready to go. So it was just, we were a little bit creative, but then fulfill the actual products, the actual Uberpong paddles, after the campaign was a success.
A bit of hustle there. Just to give people a bit of context. Just 30 seconds. What is Uberpong and what were you selling?
Well, for the campaign, it was designer ping pong paddles. So teamed up with 20 graphic designers, got their artwork onto the paddles. We printed it onto the rubber. But then later, like on the back of that, we realized that people wanted the ability to customize their own paddles. And so then we launched an app, and we allowed people to use their Instagram, Facebook, Twitter photos and bring them, like use the API, pull the image onto the paddle online, and then have that professionally created. And then they could play with them. You know, it was at first people were like, "Oh, it's great. I know some ping pong fans will get it done and they'll put them on the wall." It's like, no. You play with them, actually play with them, play well with them. So it was good.
So it sounds like there's a bit of something came over from Umento as well. This kind of like personalized photos and
definitely. So customization then was kind of really starting to peak, and people and think about custom t-shirts and how many people made a ton of money and had successful t-shirt companies. I mean, if you were just selling t-shirts with designs on, you were doing well. But if you were allowing people to use their own images and customize their own tees, you were killing it. So customization of products, that was where I was seeing it going.
Cool. And so you ran that business for 5 years, and then there was a decision to go sell, exit. What was that journey like?
We'd had, very early on, I mean, within a few months of launching, we were approached by a pro brand and they wanted to buy us, and that blew my head off because I just thought, wow, it's my first business I've really launched to the world, and we're already getting a buyout offer, and that was kind of bizarre. But I looked at it carefully and I thought, if I sell it now, I'm going to just have to go through start another business and do this all over again. I'm not learning. So I kept it. I turned down the offer and kept going. And then another 2 came over the next few years. I turned them down. And then the idea for Qwerky and Coliving was in the back of my mind from my time in my 10 years in London. And it got to the point where I just thought, I've taken this as far as I can take it with my, I guess, entrepreneurial just hustle and skills, and someone needs to take this to the next level who knows how to take it, knows how to scale it and grow it. And it was a little bit, there is that little bit of legacy there. You think, I want this business to continue. I don't want it to die. So I didn't want AOL to buy it and just run into the ground. sorry AOL. And the guys who took it over, it's in very capable hands.
Cool. So tell us about Qwerky Co-Living and why do a co-living space to start off with? What interested you?
The core of the idea, if you like, and I think this is again what I learned from Uberpong, with Uberpong, it was like launching something that was going to get press and elevate me as an entrepreneur and get me raise my credibility as an entrepreneur, which it did. Because within 2 years, we were doing a deal with the LA Dodgers and directing a celebrity ping pong tournament, and we got tons of exposure. But that was sort of, I would say that there wasn't a personal pain point there. And with Qwerky, I had been in London and I tried to get into the entrepreneurial ecosystem. It's a huge city. I know you know this, Carlos, because you've experienced it, but it's such a huge city and everything is everywhere. And so I quickly became sort of, I guess, despondent, and I just felt very disconnected when I went into the entrepreneurial kind of space. And I went through long periods of depression, and I realized I wanted to be living with entrepreneurs, and I couldn't find them. And there was Craigslist, actually in the UK, I think it was Gumtree then. And it was just, you'd end up, I mean, I found I was living with bartenders and just random people where it was just, yeah, I couldn't say I wanted to live with, say, 10 entrepreneurs and go live in a co-living space. It just even co-working wasn't hot back then and hadn't come about. So it was one of those where it was put to the back of my mind. And then it got to probably last year, and I was thinking about the next idea and thinking about moving on from Upong, and this just came, I guess, back into my thoughts. And I started to research it, and I saw how co-living had its first wave and it was hitting its second wave. How digital nomads were becoming. It's a big thing, and started reading there was going to be, like, I think, 1 billion nomads by 2025, I think it was, which is a huge number. It's a huge number. I'd done the remote the gap year or the remote year, but I noticed how people were not just doing it, they were continuing it, and that was that was fascinating. Saw how co-working had exploded, but just saw how co-living was kind of like in its infancy. And I thought, I guess not selfishly, but I just thought, I want something in the world. I want to create something in the world, build something that saves entrepreneurs years of their life, because they're instantly connected and we're facilitating relationships and accelerating that success, but also giving them a kind of emotional support system, just a safe place where they can talk to other entrepreneurs and not feel embarrassed. Because I was finding in London, I was saying, yeah, I'm trying to get this business going, and it's really hard. And I'd be talking to like salespeople, sales friends, and they'd be like, oh, man up, like man up, get back to work, hustle, keep calm and carry on, all this. Just, they didn't get it. They'd just be like, work harder, you'll get through it. It's just, they didn't know what I was going through, because they could just go in at 9, come out at 5 and disconnect. That was it. And they'd still get the commission and all that, the salary. I wasn't getting that. Like I wasn't getting paid. It hadn't, nothing, it wasn't launching. It hadn't launched. So I wasn't getting paid. I was going on savings from my previous job. So yeah. So I think it was just that desire to bring something into the world that would help society, help entrepreneurs, be a great place where digital nomads could kind of come through and learn and be around entrepreneurs and creatives. And that it wasn't just about, a community full of the exact same type of person. Because I've seen and experienced entrepreneur houses, and again, from research, if you put 10 CTOs in a house, it's going to be interesting. You're going to have a TV show like Silicon Valley, reality TV show. And a lot of technologists don't want to be around other techies. They want to be around they want to learn from other people. So I realized that it was I wanted to create something that was, it's like cross-pollination, so that a technologist could learn from a marketing person who can learn from an artist. Like, it was just this, or a cinematographer. And then it was kind of like, wait a minute, we did this pilot house to sort of see how all this would work. We put eight people together in a house, nomads, entrepreneurs, creatives, and magic happened. That's the best way of describing it. Magic happened. Eight people came in. I would say, let's just say, happiness score of about 5 or 6. And I would say overall, I won't say that everybody came out on a 10, because you're going to think I'm lying, but their happiness was elevated by being in the Qwerky house. That simple. They admitted it. They did testimonials. They've talked about it online without me telling them to go tweet about it, or Instagram or Facebook it. They just did it because they felt that it was a tremendous value. And since then, they've also connected as an 8, as they've gone away from us, they've kept very close. And a few of the speakers that came into the house, they've become their mentors. So in 2 days, we did it for a weekend, 2 days, unbelievable stuff happened. And so it was kind of like, wait a minute, if we create a larger community and we allow this kind of cross-pollination, just, amazing stuff's going to happen.
Cool.
And then if you're there for a little bit longer, yeah, it's a bit longer than a weekend. Maybe it's a month, 3 months, or a year, 6 months. Whatever, however long you feel you need. We want to also say, okay, come to Qwerky, but we want to know what you want to get out of this. It's not just come stay and it's like aimless. It's just, how can we help you? How can we help you succeed in that time? What do you need from us? You want to do a project? Okay, who do you need to be connected to? How can we help? And so it's almost like the more that we explore the idea the closer it gets to launch, the deeper the community goes. And so we're talking about like this being a deep community rather than just a community. Mm-hmm. as a sales buzzword, like come stay at our.
Can I ask, was there anything that you did to create this space so that people connected? Is there something you can share in terms of what you think is required to make that happen? Because questions around picking the right people, was there anything of that? And also in terms of how did you make sure people interacted in the right way?
I would say there was definitely an element of matchmaking. I put it out to friends and the San Diego community. There were some people who came through, and I just thought it's not going to be a good fit. Maybe they're too far along, or maybe it's just primarily it's attitude. Like you just get a sense quite quickly of it's you've got to be passionate, you've got to be open to co-living. Like it's that openness. And I felt with a few people, they were just a bit too. They were the type of people who would move into a luxury condo and be happy living on their own, but mm-hmm. they were applying for a co-living community. So I didn't feel like it'd be a good match.
So there was a level of curation and interviewing and making sure that they came. And is that something that you're going to take on to the next level?
Yeah. So we'll be doing we'll be opening up the a process of application soon, and then seeing one of the questions will be what value can you bring to the Qwerky community, and then what do you want to get out of it. So it's seeing how people, like, where their ambition is, what they're working on, and then we can say, okay, that's what you want, that's the value you can bring, we feel that complements the people in there. What do you want to get out of it? We can definitely help you with that, because we know these investors, we know these marketing people, we know these professionals, because you've got our own network. But then within the Qwerky community, we know who's applying, and we know that you should definitely meet this guy or this girl, and this is why. It's not just, a lot of, I think the first wave of co-living communities, it's pretty much a condo and saying it's co-living, or an apartment or a house. It's just putting people in a house, and it's like a dorm. There's not a lot of facilitation of relationships and a direction. There's a lack of direction. And so a lot of people will go, stay for a few days and leave. And they'll kind of think that was no different to a hostel or a hotel or an Airbnb. So we want to differentiate ourselves from those companies I just mentioned, and make it so that it's almost combining like LinkedIn and matchmaking, I guess, with co-working, co-living, increasing your happiness score or level of happiness, and accelerating your success, and then networking. And then obviously, once we get to the point where we've succeeded with the first community, we want to be in other cities, so that when you go on to another city, maybe you're an entrepreneur, you need to go to San Francisco and move your company there because you've got funding. Go move to Qwerky in San Francisco, you immediately plug into that ecosystem within the community, Qwerky community. Or if you're a nomad, maybe you're traveling and you say, okay, I want to go to New York now, or another city, or another country, and you go to Qwerky there. And so you're immediately plugged in, and you can see who's going to be in those locations. You can see what type of, like if there's gigs, like we're looking at doing Qwerky gigs. So almost like an internal recruitment / job board. So that, because again, we're very close to our community, and we're asking them kind of what they need. And that came up where it was, nomad, like in one instance, there's a
so can I ask,
nomad. digital
Do
nomad in
you,
Australia, and they wanted to get a gig, like some freelance work in San Diego. If they go through a job site, it's a big, they go, you know, they're in a big pile of resumes. Maybe they don't get a reply, but we've got direct connections with people who are looking for those people, and we'll put you straight in front of them so you get that gig. So it's like it's giving you purpose when you're living at Qwerky.
so a question would be, so a bit broader thing. What's your vision for this thing in terms of like if it all does what you want it to do, what does it look like and how does it feel? And on a personal level as well as on a
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'll start on a personal level. My two biggest passions are entrepreneurship and travel. So the obvious thought there is, how can this be global so that people can travel and then plug in very quickly to an into the entrepreneurial ecosystem in a place? That's yeah, because when I traveled for about a year and a half, a few years back, I spent a lot of time, you know, cold calling, going on, you know, literally physical pin boards and just looking for the little scraps of paper, seeing for the jobs. You just, yeah, there's, it was quite crude then. And so I'm trying to create something that just means that wherever you are in the world, you're plugged in. That's the thought. And then from a business standpoint, it would make, you know, I think it would be a success if we had that kind of almost network, and there was that interconnectivity, not just online, but through locations in different cities in the world, that allowed people to go experience those ecosystems. Because again, like an example, I've got a friend who's a founder of a company, and he got accepted into the accelerator in South America, Startup Chile in South America. So he's kind of in that program and gets plugged in. But if you just wanted to go there and learn and live, but you couldn't get accepted into that accelerated program, or it was just that you were doing on your own and maybe just traveling, it's much harder to do it on your own. It's really, really hard. And you spend a lot of time.
yeah.
Time is money. So if we can save you time, we'll save you money.
And so what's the next steps for you? What's immediately over the next couple of months? What's going on?
We've been talking to investors and so we're looking at seeing if we can get some smart money where we're getting investment, but we're getting people who can really introduce us to their network and help us really with people who can help us get further faster. We're looking to open our first co-living community in San Diego, and it's going to be bigger than we first thought because of the demand and just where we want it to be. We're looking at about probably a community of 50, and incorporating co-working and all the things I've mentioned before. And so, yeah, that's the next step. And we're looking at probably early 2018 to launch. It's quite aggressive, but looking at early 2018. And in the meantime, we'll be opening, or as soon as we've got that, we'll open the application process. But really now we're just talking to the community, and we're very, very close with them. So if there's people listening or that want to, you know, would be keen on being almost like, I don't know, like being ambassadors or just early adopters of it, keen to be given, you know, I guess basically be very close to Qwerky and myself as we get to launch, and just be very close to us and getting sneak peeks. People who want to write about us and talk about us, like you guys, and early supporters, proponents of co-living, we're big believers in minimalism as well. So if you're into minimalism, talk to us. And nomads, entrepreneurs, and creatives. I mean, yeah, it's starting conversations. It's actually listening to our community rather than just saying we listen to the community and then just not, just what so many big brands do. So we want that real closeness with our community, because ultimately they'll be our first Qwerkies in the community, and then we want to be helping those people. And so the better we know them, the better we can be for them.
Cool. And so if people want to find you, where do they look? And if they want to get in touch with you, what's the quickest, most efficient way to contact you?
Well, I'm a big believer in direct communication. I think probably said before, I'm the founder and CEO of the company. So if you want to talk to me directly, I'm on Twitter at David J Lowe, which is LOWE, David J Lowe. Instagram, English Dave. And then for Qwerky, Qwerky.co, so QWERKY.co is our website. Add your email on there, and we'll reach out to you when the application process starts. And then across Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we're at Qwerky Coliving.
Cool, excellent. So people, they now have all the information they need to hook up with you guys and get Qwerky Co-Living. So is there any last thing you'd like to say, any kind of very specific ask that you want to share with our community in terms of what simple thing they could do to help you out?
This is kind of one that's resonating well with the community so far. Is we hate, I can't stand Facebook ads and just ads. I hate commercials. I hate advertising. So we just, simple way of putting it is, if you hate ads as much as we do, we're relying on people talking about us organically and just spreading the word. So just tweeting about us, regramming on Instagram, and so on. Just spreading the word on social media, tagging people up if you feel like they might be into it. And by those people doing that, we don't need to do crappy Facebook ads. go the sort of, the buying the community way. That's really the simple thing. Just talk about it. If you're a journalist, talk to us. Yeah, talk to me. And if you want to do, like articles we've been written about, we've got on TV. I'm going to be on the American Dream TV show next week, which is a nationwide show. That's sort of like Shark Tank kind of territory, or Dragon's Den in the UK, which is pretty big. But we're just, we're a startup. I mean, that's we're startups, scrappy startups. So any way that we can, get some press, get the word out about us is nice.
Cool.
And any early supporters as well. I mean, we're talking already to people about, who are early supporters. If they've got a big community, we can talk about them coming to stay at Qwerky for free, and really just kind of
experiencing what Qwerky's like.
Yeah, and sneak peeks. Yeah, like the first person in the world to stay at Qwerky kind of thing. If you want to be that person, and you've got a community you can talk to, tell your big community about Qwerky, then great.
Brilliant. Actually, so maybe we can talk later if there's something that we can share. It's like, if you want to be one of the first Qwerky people, then send a tweet or something, or some details through, and then you can pick who you want on board.
Hashtag stay Qwerky is our hashtag. And also we're kind of exploring the idea of, and this is just, suggestions for people who stay in the house. What is your quirk is kind of the question. Like, what is your quirk? What makes you quirky? What makes you who you are? And what makes you different? Brilliant. What is your quirk? So
excellent. Well, thank you very much for that. That's been really interesting finding out, A, your journey, and B, what you're trying to do with Qwerky Co-Living. And I think we've got all the information there to find out more. So good luck with everything. And we'll be in touch, and hopefully we'll be able to help you spread the word.
It's been a real pleasure jumping on, Carlos, and thanks for having me on the show. And obviously, like we've discussed before, if I can do anything to help happy startups, and just, whether it's promoting online or events especially keen on.
Nice one.
Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thanks, guys.